Mistakes are life's most valuable teachers. Without them, there would be no way to become better than who we are right now. Everyone would remain in a standard of mediocrity without the ability to excel or improve. Without mistakes, I would have never improved at guitar building. And the mistakes I make now and in the future are necessary to become better at my art. While working on the Matriarch, I made mistakes that were so egregiously amateur that I actually stepped back for a second and questioned whether or not I knew what I was doing, despite the fact that I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. Saying this was the most painful guitar I ever built is not an exaggeration. It was both painful emotionally and it was also painful technically. While routing out the neck, I forgot to fasten this down tightly enough, and at the very end of the process, doing the final pass, this piece shifted, and I messed up the entire neck. I had to order an entirely new neck blank and redo the process all over again. And that neck blank was not cheap. An amateur mistake on top of a costly mistake, and worst of all, I didn't really feel like there was any lesson I learned in the moment. I've done this before. How could I mess this up so bad? But the mistakes weren't over. Next, I routed out the body, and without getting into too much detail, I basically placed the pattern of the guitar partially off of the wood blank it's supposed to be cut out from. I didn't realize this till I was making the final pass. So again, I had to order a new body blank. Another amateur mistake, overlapped by a costly mistake. Now, if you ask anyone who builds guitars, making little mistakes invisible to the naked eye is part of the art. Mistakes are inevitable, and sometimes they're outside of your control. In cases where they're salvageable, it's your job to fix them. However, the mistakes I made were nowhere close to this realm. During this time, I was also attending a grief group, as well as therapy, which I'm still currently in. I asked my therapist, why am I struggling so hard with this? There are days where the most I can do is think about building this guitar, and even that's exhausting. This feels weird. I'm not excited about it like I normally am. Usually I'm really motivated about building, and it's also easy, but I just can't get into this flow state. This one's fighting me emotionally. It's fighting me technically, like what's going on? She responded, well, you are very much in your head type of person, as well as a heavy thinker. And guitar building sounds like it's a very technical process. You're engaging the technical side of your brain and it requires 100% focus, but simultaneously an element of emotion and grief is being involved. So that emotional side of your brain is clashing against the other side, the technical side, and it's causing all this dissonance. I responded to her, yeah, that sounds about right. I would, pick the most extra difficult, hard way to process some of my grief. Shortly after our conversation, I finally realized the lesson from the mistakes I made. And that was that I needed to be kinder to myself. Normally, if I mess something up, I don't say the nicest things in my head. Let's just leave it at that. Not a healthy habit, I know, but it's the truth. Being kinder to myself meant shifting my mindset from, are you an idiot? To, okay, you've got to cut yourself some slack. This is very hard, it's emotionally taxing, and the wounds are fresh. It's physically demanding, and it's 10 times more difficult than it normally would be. So chill. When I was finally at the finish line and I was stringing it up, I started to get excited. But up until that point, everything felt like I had been running a marathon that I never trained for. Now, every time I pick up the Matriarch, I am physically holding meaning. And there's nothing that feels quite like that. Mistakes only become tragedies when we don't learn from them. And the mistakes I made would have only been tragic if I quit guitar building. I don't like to quit. I'm very stubborn in good ways and bad. And because I didn't quit, I walked away with a beautiful, meaningful guitar a new lesson learned, personal growth, and a story that has now reached millions of people. The older I get, the more I tend to believe that no matter how big the mistake, you can still let it shape you into a better person. Now, I understand there are some mistakes that have dire consequences. Some mistakes can land you in prison for the rest of your life. Some mistakes can cause irreparable damage in relationships that you'll never be able to mend. Sometimes you have to live with those consequences. That's life. But you can choose to let those mistakes shape you into a better person. The goal is never perfection. The goal is consistent refinement. I hope this encourages you to start looking at your mistakes differently, and instead of letting them destroy, let them refine you.